Hi everyone, it's Dawn. I wanted to start this video in a different way than most of the tales from Meadowview. I wanted to explain to you all how important this video is, and hopefully you'll understand as we get into it. This video is made for Russ, and it's been, several days that he and I have known it was time to make this video. And when I mentioned it to him, he kind of broke down a bit. It's really hard to make because Smoky was Russ's soul cat, just the same as Lila was mine. So I really wanted to do this justice, and I kind of needed to make this video while Russ wasn't at home, because I didn't want to upset him. So it's been a little bit in the making, and I wanted to do it just right. So without further ado, I guess we'll go ahead and get into it. I do want to mention that this story does deal with the loss of a beloved pet and does discuss illness. Please, if you're sensitive to these topics, or if you need to hear a happy story, click off and go ahead and listen to a different story, because we do have plenty of happy endings here. That being said, I guess I'll hand it over to Smoky and let her start to tell you her journey. Hi everyone, I'm Smoky. I ended up at Miss Dawn's, after a very long journey. I'm not really sure how long I was on an adventure. I think it was probably quite a while. By the time I got there, I was pretty thin, as you can see, and my paws were pretty worn. But I was really happy to discover Miss Dawn's place, and all the kitties there, well, they told me I had come to the right spot. While I was there, I met a really special person, Russ. He was my dad. I loved him so much. He was awesome. We spent a lot of time cuddling together in his chair while he played video games. He was the best. Anyway, there was someone else that I actually had a little special something for, and that was Floof. He was such a handsome man. I just fell in love with him, and we had a secret. You see, there were kittens, and nobody knew because my tummy was skinny from being on an adventure. And then one day, I surprised Miss Dawn and Dad with 4 beautiful kittens, and their dad would come and visit us on the catio. Me and Floof and the kittens would sit on the catio together and groom each other and watch the birds and watch the kittens play. It was great. But I knew that one day the kittens would get bigger and they would have to go to the adoption center so they could get a home. However, one of my kittens had some tummy problems of her own. Now, Miss Dawn and Dad, they took care of that baby kitty to the best of their abilities, and I know they emptied their bank account doing that, but she's worth it. Anyway, that's Mimi, and Mimi will tell you her story some other day. That's for her to tell. But for now, I'll continue to tell you about mine. You see, after the kittens went to the adoption center, it was my turn. Now, just like Miss Patty, her and I had babies at the same time, and their dad was Floof. Isn't that something? A bit scandalous, isn't it? Sharing a mate. Who would have thought? Preposterous. Anyway, after those kittens went to the adoption center, I knew that just like Miss Patty, I would have to go there too. And they would have to open my pocket and take out my parts so that I could live a happy and free life. So, when the day came, I didn't complain. I understood. Miss Patty told me it was all going to be okay, and I trusted her. She'd been around the block a time or two as well. So, I went there, and I took a nap, and I got a little boo-boo. And Miss Dawn and Dad came to pick me up and take me home, and I just didn't feel so well. I couldn't remember Miss Patty having this much trouble. Now, I know that when Dad and Miss Dawn came to pick me up, they asked if they could find out how old I was. And I think I heard them tell Miss Dawn and Russ that I was 10 years old. I don't know about that. I know I was, experienced. But 10 winters is a lot. I'm not too sure about that, but maybe. Anyway, I don't know if all those winters or my hard journey or what it was contributed to my difficult recovery, but it took me a long time to feel better. Not like Miss Patty. She went right out just a few days later, it seemed, and rejoined the colony. But me, I struggled. I stayed behind. It was hard work to get better for me. I don't really know why. But get better, I did, eventually. It just took time. And after I started to feel better, I started to get a little bit pudgy. Dad said it was because I was finally healthy. And I had such a great time at Miss Dawn's and loved my dad so much, just like I talked about. I liked to sit on his lap and watch him play video games for hours and hours. It was the best. And then one cold day, something bad happened. I don't know why it happened, but I began to not feel well. Dad was in the shower, and Mom was in the living room with me. And suddenly, my tummy began to rumble, and my chest hurt so bad. It hurt the worst I have ever had. And Miss Dawn, she came over and hollered at Dad to hurry up. Something was wrong. Well, Dad came out of that bathroom like I have never seen him do before. And my tummy all the while was rumbling and my chest was hurting so bad. And Dad and Miss Dawn, they did their best to comfort me. All the other kitties were so concerned. Well, in an effort to calm everyone and to help me, Miss Dawn took me into the bathroom. And she sat with me on the floor. And she said, "Smoky, I know what's wrong." And meanwhile, Dad was at his computer. I could hear him clicking and typing furiously, trying to find out what was wrong with me. But Mom knew. She's so smart. She said to me, "Smoky, please don't go. Can you just stay with us for just a little longer? Dad's not ready, and neither am I. Can you just give us maybe a little bit more time?" Well, I listened to her and I fought. I fought and fought. It was so hard and hurt so bad. But in the end, my fighting proved to be worthy. and I stayed. It was so hard. I stayed for as long as I could. I couldn't eat anything, and it was hard to breathe. And Mom said I'd had a heart attack, and Dad took me to the emergency room. They didn't want to believe that I had survived a heart attack. But after Mom demanded that they give me special medicine so that fluid wouldn't enter my lungs, they believed her. Yep, Mom was right. She knew what she was talking about. And after doing research, Dad knew too, even though it broke his heart. Well, we thought maybe the medicine would help me, but it really didn't. A few days went by without being able to eat. A few days that felt like I was swimming. It got harder and harder to stay. And finally, Dad looked at me and said, I know it's time, Smoky. I know. So Mom and Dad put me in the magic travel box again, and we went to the place. And I knew what was happening. I knew my body was failing. I knew it was time. It was time to say goodbye. But I knew things were going to be okay. I could see it was hurting my dad so much, and Mom was teary too. But it was also a special time because, just like Lila, I had a special job to do, and I was going to be so good at that job. So I flew up and up, and I left that broken body behind just like she did. Yep, she was there for me. She came and told me, come on, Smoky, it's great. Everything will be okay. Mom and Dad will be fine. You've got a job to do. You're going to be my helper. I flew, and I played with Lila, and finally we arrived. And now I come back to Meadowview with Lila, and I help her help the kitties at Meadowview. It's sometimes a hard job, and to be honest, I think Lila's better at it than I am. But I do my best. And every once in a while, when Lila's not looking, oh, she can be such a slave driver. Once in a while, I sneak and I see my dad. And I give him a little tickle on his nose and a little tickle in his ear. And I let him know how much I love him. And I'll see him again. But meanwhile, Lila, the taskmaster, is making sure I do my job, and I better do it right. I love the whole colony at Meadowview, and I watch over them with Lila each day. And I really hope that you all love them too. Thank you so much for listening to my story. And you know what? If you could give my dad a virtual hug, just to let him know, that'd be awesome. Thanks, friends. Have a great day.